Just feeds it off to Smart. Smart had the presence of mind to chip it around the corner, and really it could have bounced through for a goal, but Opt made sure of it. And the Redlegs, you just feel, are fighting fire with fire. They're answering every challenge by the Magpies.
Port Adelaide trail by 2 points. Up they go. Eastor yet again with the tap, but only as far as his direct opponent. Out it comes through Higgins. Kicks the ball long and hard in to attack, and a free kick has been given against Tyler. The correct decision going to Dale Fleming. Fleming transfers the ball to Harvey. Anthony Harvey, one of the best midfielders in the game. Transfers the ball again further to the big fellow Eastor, and he's a natural right foot, puts the ball out in front of West, and eventually it just goes out of bounds for a boundary throw-in.
I think there, Ken, Jim West was quite happy to see it out of play. We're 30 and a bit minutes into the second term. Norwood will try and hold on to this 2-point advantage as we go into half-time.
Throw in. Bolton, good control of the footy, but eventually puts it out over the boundary line on the full as the siren goes. Norwood, 7 goals, 5, 47. Do lead Port Adelaide, 6 goals, 9, 45 at half-time.
Ken, you've got to suggest that Port Adelaide kicking 2 goals, 3 that term. And they're still a little... Well, the umpires hadn't realised that the siren had sounded. But Port Adelaide, 2 goals, 3 that term. Norwood, on the other hand, added 5 goals, 3 to turn this game right around. It's anyone's game at half-time, isn't it?
Eastor was magnificent in ruck, David. He's been thereabouts all day, but their midfielders, the smaller brigade of Harvey. Andrew Jarman erupted there for a short while, breaking the tag. The concentration perhaps lapse of Brett Higgins. He was tremendous. Brett James did a little bit. And all of a sudden, it just started to happen for Norwood. And up forward, of course, they had players such as West that were presenting themselves. And the little fellow, number 45, in Nathan Smart, he's just pace around half forward, was able to create a few avenues for goal, and they had all the answers.
So the the half-time score here at Alberton Oval is Norwood 7-5-47, Port Adelaide 6-9-45. You're watching all the action on ABC Sport. Two-point ball game here at Alberton, and every week Michael Noonan gives us his thoughts on football. And as a coach who had a very short life in the AFL, he looks today at the life expectancy of AFL coaches.
Well, you may have noticed there's been very little discussion in Adelaide this year about coaching performances. Well, I think this is probably due to the fact that our nostrils, rather than being filled with the scent of coaches' blood, they're filled with success. And we're all enjoying the performances of the Crows and the Power. Well, not so in Melbourne. Of the past few weeks, well, Barmy's bitten the dust. Just recently, we had the Richmond president come out and give unqualified support to Robert Walls. You know, and generally we all consider this to be a bad sign. And as well as that, Kevin Sheedy, well, the media have been taunting him over a number of issues. The best one being, of course, the lowly performance of Essendon. Well, all this has given rise to the question of just how long should a coach stay in any one club? We know that Kevin's been involved with the Essendon Football Club for at least 15 years. John Cahill, well, he's put a lifetime of service into Port Adelaide. And David Parkin, well, he has been on and off at Carlton for probably also a lifetime. When you have a look at the corporate world, the big business world, CEOs, they tend to have an average lifespan in any company for a period of 5 to 7 years. Well, let's have a look at what happens to an AFL coach. First of all, they have to manage 50 to 60 odd players. They have at least 100 part-time and support staff to manage. And as well as that, each week they have to come up with new strategies, new ideas, and all within the face of public scrutiny, and all with the pressure, I guess, of the media on their back. It's no wonder that many of them, they fall by the wayside just out of pure exhaustion.
Yes, one man who got exhausted by it all. But would you have kept going if St Kilda kept going with you, Ken? Or were you just exhausted in the end?
I think on reflection, I possibly was a little exhausted, David. It's a very demanding task, AFL coaching, and underestimated by a lot of people. The payments that coaches receive, I think, is in its infancy for what it should be. Also, player-wise, I think you'll find very soon in the coming years that you'll have million-dollar contracts, and administrators, as Michael Noonan hinted on, they are a very important part of the game, and there are so few that are so good.
What sort of pressures do coaches go under during the week?
Well, it's a constant pressure. It's just everybody's at you, all wanting their piece, and of course you've got to have your planning and you've got to have your communicating with your players. You've got to get that done very early in the piece, and it's just it is a full-time, full-on commitment. One of the best games you can be a part of, I might also say.
Quick question without notice: would you go back and coach an AFL club?
The right club, I would, David, but you know, it's too hard. A lot of them are in the too hard baskets, as simple as that.
Fair enough. Tonight, one side that you coached with distinction, St Kilda, playing pretty well, only behind the Crows on percentage. A blockbuster at Football Park this evening.
It really will be, and I'm really excited about it. Looking forward to you know, some of the matchups, like Robert Harvey, the player that I believe the best in the country. He'll take place at centre stage along with the co-captain of the Saints, Nathan Burke. Up forward, you've got Stewie Lowe, who will play on him. Nigel Smart out of the Adelaide Crows. Perhaps that will be the difference in the end. Jamie Shanahan, perhaps at the other end, will take care of Tony Modra in his 100th game. Like, it really, Football Park tonight's got everything. Two real informed sides.
We might just cover that. Tony Modra plays his 100th game tonight, and you'd expect he'll kick his 400th goal. Now, there, Ken, is his record. It's a pretty fair record when you judge it against anybody.
Oh, it's a tremendous record, and you know, it's one that's had a bit of controversy amongst it, but most of those full forwards do, David. But Modra, look, he's an athlete. He's a player that really can play the game. He's an excitement machine. I've seen enough of him to know that people just come through the gates to watch Tony Modra play, and he's a real draw card.
Only 8 players in history have had a better goal-scoring average per game than Tony Modra, and that puts him in the pretty elite company.
It certainly does. They're not about 8 players, are they? The likes of Lockett and the likes of Hudson, the likes of Coleman. Like, they're the greatest names in the game.
Yes, fantastic, aren't they? As we go to the lineups, they look pretty good, don't they, Adelaide Crows? You have a look down the line. Jamison, Caven. Caven gets the big job on low. Jarman in the middle has been in extraordinary form, and Robran has really given them another dimension at centre-half forward. And Modra, as we've already said, is in fantastic form. Yeah,
Robran has been something special for the Adelaide side of late, and you know, he'll have his job cut out tonight. Darryl Wakeland probably take him on. Good to see Simon Goodwin named at half-back, a former South Adelaide player. Mark Rasciuto, Mark Bickley and Darren Jarman. Who will match those players? What a match-up in the midfield it is.
As we go down to the boundary line, and Rob Popplestone and Mark Nardi. Fellas, it looks a pretty good side, the Adelaide Crows.
Now, we missed that question then, David. Can you repeat it again?
Good side, the Crows, Mark?
Oh, yes, they definitely are. I mean, last week, it really, Rob, was just a run of the park for the Adelaide Crows. I mean, you saw players like Jarman and Rasciuto just running around, just really doing what they wanted to do. But I reckon tonight you just expect St Kilda. I know they've got a lot of match winners. I mean, you talked about the Harveys and also the Burke and Stewie Lowe, but I reckon that last player, Stewie Lowe, is going to be the key.
He's a good player, isn't he, Stewie Lowe? But I think their midfield is going to be the key to St Kilda. And whoever wins that midfield between the Crows and St Kilda DB, I'd suggest may have the edge at the end of the night.
Well, Rob, you're doing a pretty good job in the tipping poll. You're killing everyone else. Who's the winner tonight?
I think, unfortunately, I'm a bit of a closet St Kilda fan, but I think that at the end of the day, Adelaide Crows might be too strong at home. If you look at that St Kilda lineup, though, look at that. Winmar, Ozzie Jones has been fantastic. Robert Harvey, the best on-ball player in the competition to mine. Everett also can be used on the ball or as a resting forward-line player, and I think that's where they might cause problem, Ken. Down in that, Everett will cause problems for the Adelaide Crows resting that forward line.
No doubt. Heatley with 9 goals last week, combining with Lowe. But there's 5 All-Australians in that St Kilda side. Winmar with the Western Australian, Ozzie Jones, Stuart Lowe, Nathan Burke and Robert Harvey. So the rest of the players, like, surely they must get a sense of the finals around the corner. If they can win this game, they're 9th. It can put them in a strong position to contend this year's premiership. It really is looking good for the Saints.
Tough one for you, Ken. Who are you going for, former St Kilda coach?
Oh, I think there's no doubt who I'm going for.
The Crows. Well, last week, Port Adelaide Power were quite terrific in the second half against Hawthorn. They were 60 points down, Ken, midway through the second quarter, and got back at the 20-minute mark of the final soon within 17 points, and almost stole an unlikely victory. Their first half was horrible, but their second half was quite terrific.
And that would be the big task this week for the Port Adelaide Match Committee and the players. Like, if they can get off to a good start, surely they would have the confidence to know that they can run out and steamroll a game. You just cannot give sides 40, 50, 30, whatever points lead and then expect to win. Talking of highlights last week, what about that? John Platten, 250 games. What a dream finish, the last kick.
Mark Naylor, you played with Johnny Platten. He's been a great competitor over the last 15 years.
Yeah, he really has been sensational over that period of time. And we saw the goal kick. You see it in a moment. He's playing his 250 match and just kicking from outside of 50. I mean, those little legs can still, just pump the ball at least 70, 80 metres forward. It's just a great, great player and just a true champion. One of the best players to leave this state for sure.
Still got a problem kicking a big score, Port Power. That's still their Achilles heel, isn't it?
Well, they're really only getting a half a game to do that. Like their first half performances is where they really have to lift their rating.
Well, look, they kicked 6 goals, 4 in the final term, and almost got home, but Hawthorn just steadied and were quite magnificent in the finish, running out victors by 32 points. Well, another tough one this week. It's West Coast taking on Port Power in Subiaco in Western Australia, and always a tough challenge.
Yes, and the West Coast have been down, defeated twice on their home deck in the last 2 outings, so Mick Malthouse will really have them revved up, and their senior players will be really needing to respond. I think Port Adelaide might find it a little difficult to overcome the West Coast at home.
Well, they look pretty balanced, though, don't they? The only one you might put in there is Traps Poole, who's not match fit. Brewers named at centre-half forward, but with Poole in there, they'd look to have one of their best teams.
Yes, they certainly would, but, Franco, Brewer, Lockwood, that would suggest a very fast and...
as we go to the West Coast squad, and they, of course, are missing Peter Matera and John Worsfold, who are out with injuries, and Mark Naylor down the boundary line. You've always been a great West Coast Eagles fan, but you just worry about their depth this particular week, and if they are vulnerable to the Port Power.
Well, last week's game against the Adelaide Crows would have to be one of the softest West Coast Eagles side that I've ever seen. Just pull on that Eagles Guernsey. That was just a real pathetic performance, and I think Malthouse might have his problems over there at the moment. I just can't see the Eagles getting up even at home. I think the Power will beat them and beat them well. Thanks
for that, Mark. And what about Rob Popplestone, the tipster stone? Who are you going for, Rob?
DB, actually, I'll be heading over there tonight to watch that game, and I'll be there live tomorrow afternoon at Subiaco. I think that Port Power, like Nails, might be a bit too strong. It is one of the weaker West Coast Eagles side, and for the first time in many years, they've been beaten at home, and I think Port Power will continue to do that to them this year.
Fair enough, Ked. Fully expenses paid trip by the ABC to Rob Popplestone. Not bad, Ked. We should get on the gravy train there. What do you think? And who are you going for?
No, I'll go for the Eagles at home. I think I just think they'll be too strong.
Fair enough. As we go down to Mark Naylor's segment, hard as nails. Mark, last week you didn't get us into too much trouble. This week you've got some thoughts on Gary Ablett.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit soft over it as I'm maturing with my age, but I just saw this week, we saw Gary Ablett who had an operation yesterday. It's unusual. I mean, he comes out and says that he's got a drinking problem. He's declared that in the last couple of weeks. And they're talking about people like is it the flying start, Richie Nixon, who looks after him, who managed him. I just can't believe that someone like that, with this Nixon, can let a player of his ability. I mean, he's a $300,000, $400,000 player a year as a player, but then he's worth, I reckon, $500,000 as a publicity machine as well. I just can't understand how someone like Nixon can let him go. I mean, just it's poor management. And also the club, I mean, someone needs to be there. There are some players that can handle retirement, there's some players that can't. And I just feel at the moment that Gary Ablett may have been maybe not treated too well. I know he's had a few problems over the years. He found God there at one stage, which is nothing wrong with that. I just feel that someone should have maybe just held his hand a little bit earlier than what's happened now. We see him, he may never play football again.
Put you right on the spot. Gary Ablett says if he's not contracted next year by Geelong, he'll put himself in the draft. Kevin Sheedy's already said that he'll pick him up. Yeah, well, that was mentioned around about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but you got to say this. I mean, ask Ken Sheldon. He's 36 years old, or will be 36, 37. I think he just might be a little bit too old. Fair enough. Rodney Eade last week, Inspector William Todd got hold of him at the Wacker and said, you've just let a few too many Fs, not footballs, but obscene language go, and they picked him up, and he might face arrest if he does the same thing in the West next time. How ridiculous. The big chief inspector had to be there for the day. I just could not believe it, and they've pulled him across. They couldn't do it behind closed doors. They couldn't do it away from where the Channel 7's cameras were. It had to be done there. Have a look. He's been on radio over there. He's been on TV over there. It is absolutely a complete farce. Now, something has to be done over there with those coaches' rooms, or where those coaches are positioning in the grandstand. They must be either glassed off or they must be soundproof, because that's, I mean, the coach is a passionate game. When you see something happen where it's an umpiring decision or a player that's not sticking to the rules, you do let yourself go a little bit too much. few people want to soundproof our commentary area, Mark, when you get going occasionally. But that's another story. We'll come back to that another day. Now, manhandling umpires has been a problem, and you're not one of the fancies who thinks that that's right.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question, both you and also Ken, that it's there. I mean, we looked at Wanganeen at the start of the year when he pushed the umpire. We saw Williams go for 9 weeks and then all of a sudden got reversed in the Supreme Court and the High Court. Now, we saw Chris Johnson, the young Brisbane Lions, last week do exactly the same thing. Now, tell me, fellas, you give me your opinion. You've seen them all. One had no case, one 9 weeks, one 3 weeks. Now, what's happened? They finally got it right?
Yeah, I think they probably have, Ken. I think if all of those were 3 weeks, I don't think there would have been too many Blues, would there?
It wouldn't have been a problem. Simple as that.
No, I think you've got a point there, Mark. Well, what about the SANFL security? You've pleaded with the SANFL to beef up their security. They've obliged you this week.
Yeah, we just see that. I mean, it's happened. We saw that Delaney incident last week where that rock was supposedly thrown from behind the goal square. But we just feel that this week they've come out and said that there will be security guards there. They're here today. We've got a very, very large crowd. But the one that I want to be questioning about is also around about round 6 it was. There was a night game play between South Adelaide and also the Eagles, where the umpires were a little bit, maybe under a bit pressure when the Eagles supporters ran out on the ground and they wanted to voice give their opinion on how the umpiring standard was going, which wasn't good that night. But since then, I mean, they made this new rule that players are not allowed to come through the centre square. They will not.
Spectators, you mean, mate?
Spectators won't be allowed to come through the centre square. Now, the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, we're seeing it, players just walking straight through the centre square. Not players, but we've seen the supporters coming through the centre square. And something has to be done where they're going to keep this rule. I mean, it has to be done at some stage. Just how long will this rule about the umpires or the security guards behind the goal squares? I wonder how long they'll last for as well.
Now, what about today, Mark? You were watching the spectators come onto the Oval at quarter time. Did the security men keep them out of the middle of the ground here at Alberton?
Well, you can see there, I mean, there was a couple of security guards that were there, but they were still walking through the middle. And also, David, this week we've seen a great competition. I mean, few of the great players, or younger players coming through. Is the under-18 competition being played in Melbourne at the moment? I mean, the South Australian sides haven't been that successful. And we just see some scores there. We see the Victorian country beat the South Australian side quite convincingly, but we see the big upset, a WA side versus South Australian side also. 58 plays 44. Now tomorrow they play against Victorian Metro, who supposedly is the pre-series favourite. I mean, it's going to be a very, very hard game tomorrow for them, but South Australian football at under-18 level possibly mightn't be as healthy as what some people think down at SANFL.
Fair enough comment, Mark Naley. Ken, what do you think? You've had a chance to have a look at some of our juniors. We've got some great juniors, but they have lost 2 games already. If they lose the third, they face relegation into the second division next year.
I think that's probably fair enough, David, but let's face it, like at that level, winning can't be everything. I think it's the development of the game that you've got to look at. And, OK, from year to year, certain players with certain abilities are going to stand up. Victoria Country has some outstanding talent at the moment, as does the Metropolitan, as does Western Australia. Perhaps there's just a couple of brilliant players, a sprinkling of brilliant players that are missing in this year in South Australia. Late developers, perhaps. Perhaps it's, I think it's arguable as to whether the junior level really needs a good look at. Like, they have been consistently high performers for a number of years now.
Fair enough. Well, at the start of the show, we teased you a little bit about Gary McIntosh and the thoughts of the great number 14 for the Redlegs. Well, earlier in the year, I caught up with Gary and asked him about his involvement with the Norwood Football Club.
Gary, at 33 years of age in your testimonial year, it's probably timely we look back a little bit and see the changes that have happened in SANFL football. Do you remember when you first came down to the Redlegs?
Yeah, come down to play under-15s while I was still at Hope Valley and played under Ian Stafford then, and then just went into the under-17s in 80 and 81, and after 81 played in the league side in 82.
Did you ever think at the start of your career all those years ago that you'd end up well over 300 games, win a couple of McGarrys and do all the things that you've done?
I don't think anyone sort of sets out to do anything like that. I think, if you're lucky enough to have a good run, well, things do go your way. I've been lucky enough to play 300 games, so not many players have done that, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Well, you've had an outstanding relationship with Wally Miller. He's been more like a father figure to you, hasn't he?
Yeah, Wally's been great. He's a great man, and he's always seen as a strength sitting down there at the club. So, but he's definitely given me a lot of help along the way, and along with other people, Nero Ferraro, that've been in the club. You can say any more. There's been great people for me.
Just for the record, a lot of AFL clubs were interested in you. You never went. Why?
I suppose I got to Norwood, and Norwood sort of looked after me in a way they give me opportunity to play footy, and yeah, well, you know, you settle in, and I've enjoyed it so much, I don't think I had any reason to go.
You played with some of the greatest players of all time. Is there perhaps 2 or 3 that stand out in your mind that were better than all the rest?
Well, Michael Ace, you know, he was sensational. He just tireless worker, and you know, great bloke off the field as well. You know, this great bloke, John Wynn, was a great player in the early days, so I never got to play with him, but just the things that he put on the juniors and told the juniors in the early days when he was around was great. Michael Taylor, you know, well, he was something special. And I don't think anyone will ever forget that mark of Keith Thomas was running the wrong way, you know, in the grand final, which was definitely one of the greatest marks I've ever seen.
Personally, Gary, a couple of years ago, you had those crook ankles. A lot of people thought you were finished, but you've come back and played some great football. Yeah, injuries are part and parcel of footy, and I suppose if you can just keep recovering and getting your fitness back up, you know, you've always got a chance to keep playing on, and it's a hard thing when you have a long injury to get back, but if you do the work, you normally get there. Now, this is your testimonial year. The Redlegs have deemed fit at this stage of your career to give you a testimonial. What does that mean to you? Like I was saying before, I think it means that they're trying to tell you that it's time to give it away. So, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. You know, it's hard when they say they're doing something for you to raise money and things like that for you. It's just a bit hard to believe, you know, that people go and do that for you. Most people anticipate you've still got good 2 or 3 years left. You are 33 back in March. You've got probably 2 or 3 good years left in you. But what about life after football? Are you going to coach? You want to be chairman of selectors? Will you stay around the club and be involved? Well, I suppose I'll get to that when it happens, you know. I'd like to stay involved with footy somehow. Coaching, I'd like to coach eventually, whether it's at league level or country footy, or, you know, I'd be happy to do that. But I'll just wait and see when it gets to that time. Now tell us, the advent of 2 AFL clubs, you've seen SANFL football change markedly. Do you notice any significant change from, say, 1990 pre-Crows to today? Oh, well, you know, that's changed. Footy's taken a big change with the AFL, you know, taking 2 clubs from South Australia now. Yeah, the SANFL's building up again, I think. You know, it's been knocked down again, but it'll build up like it did again, and the players will be there again. And hopefully Norwood will eventually get a licence somewhere along the line and get in there. Well, I meant to ask you about that. Do you think that they made a mistake letting the Crows come in, and rather than taking Norwood and Port and making it a club-based structure? Yeah, I don't know. It's politics of footy, you know. I think having a club base would have been good. The Crows probably haven't got that quite right yet. But maybe if they come out of Norwood, they might have a club base. But it'd be good to see Norwood just go in as Norwood.
Yes, I think a few people would agree with you, Gary. What a great skipper, what a great spiritual leader he's been for the on-field players of the Redlegs. He's just been a great champion over the years. And I'm sure come the finals this year, he'll be leading with distinction again. Well, a couple of highlights in this match. Some great goals, particularly in the second quarter. Phil McGuinness was quite terrific. Snap over the shoulder. Difficult thing to do, Ken.
It is very much a difficult thing to do, but McGuinness is renowned for his ability to make something out of nothing. That there, a mark, clearly should have been paid, I think, to Carter.
3 bites of the cherry. The umpire figured there were a couple of other hands in there as well. Didn't pay it. What about Burgoyne? Oh, this is Smart's running goal.
Yeah, Smart's created a bit of action up forward at half forward for Norwood. Rowan Smith there with a great handball.
And Burgoyne is a great running opportunist, isn't he?
Yes, he's the other end of the book, if you like, compared to Smart. Like, they both are elusive half forwards and both kicking fine goals. Burgoyne there, like, he really is a talented player with an extra burst of speed. You see a comedy of errors almost here, where it's just one of those situations where desperately you're trying to get the ball through, but you just can't.
Well, we're ready for the third quarter here at Alberton Oval. Your commentators, Ken Sheldon, Mark Naley and Rob Popplestone.
Terrific first half of football here at Alberton Oval. 16-point margin in the first break to the Magpies. Norwood fought their way back into the lead by 2 there at half-time. The second half as good as the first. It'll be a great game of football. You see the stats there, Ken. Still fairly even.
Norwood really have responded. Coming from behind at quarter time, where they were a little bit behind, they really have fired up and now lead the stats almost in all departments.
That was McGuinness kicking the ball forward. Good mark taken by Pitt. Pitt's got the running players out wide. If he goes that way, he does. He finds Harvey. Harvey comes inboard. He finds Bowman. Bowman with a wobbly kick forward. Carr's there first. A big fella in Pascoe. Very intelligent. Knocks the ball forward to Tyson. And Tyson just took the tackle and went to ground.
Tremendous tackle by Ambrose. The correct thing there by Pascoe, pushing the ball forward, keeping it in front where Tyson was able to snare it, but then unable to break the tackling pressure of Ambrose.
I've seen it a couple of times by Tyson today, Ken. He's been trying to break. He was tackled before by Clayton on the half-forward line. We just saw then. He just thinks he may be a little bit quicker than the other players out here this afternoon. The ball's gone forward. Dan Toggieri up front. Ball's brought to ground again. Coming out is Kelly. Kelly just chips it forward, trying to find Harvey. Hasn't quite made him, just over his head. And again, the ball will be thrown in.
Harvey really did fire up in the second quarter. He'd been thereabouts all day, but his second quarter was pretty special.
The ball's thrown in again. Esau up against Jakes. Jakes just takes it. Rhodes there. Rhodes bumped his own play, it looked like. No, it wasn't. That was Higgins. Up against Kelly. Ball lays beautifully, just weaved his way out. A tight situation. Comes to ground, Malloy. Took a fairly heavy tackle there in that second quarter. Still on the ground. Again, he gets hammered into. Players just throwing themselves over the football.
Burgoyne it was, the player wearing number 33, having had his jumper changed through the first quarter because of the blood rule.
Sharks, hands down, Pitt. He's been busy for the Redlegs. Quick kick. Well, that's dangerous because it's out of bounds and full. And the Magpies will now have an opportunity to convert and possibly regain the lead.
Should just go back. Tyler. Should just go back, Tyler, and kick this goal. Would have had practice here 1,000 times at training. Should just get the vision here, set himself up and put through a very important goal. Always a great goal, the first goal after the halftime break.
There's a kick by Tyler. And it's one behind. So they edge closer, but still trailed with Port Adelaide. 6-10-46, Norwood 7-5-47.
And I got to say, I really hate that when players just refuse to address the situation. They've clearly got an opportunity to goal, and they just refuse to set themselves, compose themselves, and kick with a real purpose.
Dan Toggieri now for Norwood. Kicks long. A push in the back. It's been picked up by umpire Richard Williams, and it goes to the big man, Lachlan Bowman. His right-footed kick is a long one as well. James got hands to the ball. Geneva fights with his teammate in Carter. And Norwood go forward, but only as far as Ambrose, who streams out and kicks long. Malloy, courageous. Ashley for the Magpies. Finds a teammate there, but Flower fights hard. Ends up with the ball. A quick kick from a standing start. Only as far as Higgins, who, as well as blanketing Jarman, Candy's doing a good job himself.
What a pickup. It's tremendous. Kudafidi style. A good play by Phil McGuinness there, just effectively removing Andrew Jarman from the contest. One of those unrewarded things, the 1% of things.
So Brett Higgins, inside 50, kicks at goals, offline, but it's Tyler down there. Well, that's inexcusable to mine, Ken, that there was no players down there from the Redlegs to cut off a short lead if it was to happen, and Tyler found himself with an easy mark.
The Norwood defence at the moment very loose. I think the reason for that Tyler mark was just the knowledge of the youngster kicking the ball. Perhaps it's in Higgins' kicking style that occasionally they just slip off to the right-hand side. Tyler might understand that, having trained with him so often.
Smith now. He's been offline early. This is an important goal for the Magpies, and he's offline again. Now, that could be costly at the end of the day, as Port Adelaide now draw even with Norwood. 6-11-47, Norwood 7-5-47, and on 3 occasions, Kenny's been offline when really he should have been straight through the centre.
And by Darren Smith's standards, by anyone's standards really, 30 metres out, they are the simplest of goals.
Ball's driven forward. Good sport from behind. Very disciplined by Smith. Bowman's in there, coming through hard, looks like Kelly. Gives the ball up and across to Brett James. James comes inside to Obbs. Obbs, a little short kick forward, finds Jarman, very cleverly taken. He gets to his feet. Kicks the ball forward. A lovely lead by Jimmy James West.
West. Is he too far out?
He's found a short pass. Jarman, who's run down, just worked his tagger away from him. We see Higgins just limping through the centre square at the moment. A bit of a knock to his hip. Just given Jarman, you give that Jarman just half an inch, he takes about 50 miles.
Tremendous one-on-one contest that he won in the middle of the ground, and then he's run on hard into the hole to receive this kick with an opportunity to goal.
Brings up the behind. There's Andrew Jarman. It's a bad miss from a very highly skilled and disciplined footballer. You listen to his teammates talk about him. He is one of the pace setters out at the parade, respected and admired the way he goes about business. This is Clayton running down the wings, taking 2 bounces, can go for a third if he wishes. He doesn't. He chips the ball forward, nearly taken out in front. Some good, clever work taken. This player, and Higgins will get collared by Rowe. He does. The umpire feels as though it was held to him and will come in and throw it up.
Higgins there had no real opportunity to get rid of the ball. And a bounce down. Grandstand side centre wing. A game and a half in our hands with Norwood leaders by just 1 point. Dantokia now has a runner. It's Pitt. Wasn't a good handball, but Pitt's got time to steady and feed off. He finds the speedy Obst with room to move. Hot on his hammer was Smith, but he leaves him floundering. Goes short, finds Rowe. Rowe has a runner. It's Obst again. Obst goes short, looking for O'Brien, but Ambrose cut in front. Well,
Really has played that position well. He centre-half back, and he just drops back into the hole, into the V, if you like, and has chopped off a number of Norwood attacks.
Ambrose to Borlase. Borlase has a runner. It was Burgoyne, but he was beaten in the air. And now Kelly feeds off to his teammate in Harvey. Harvey's left foot kick is long. West from behind. Northeast stays down and finds himself the ball. Handball to Ambrose, whose quick kick falls to Smith, Rowan Smith. He's got runners in board and he uses them. One of them's McGuinness, who now from a standing start kicks long, and hello, Darren Smith, without an opponent within 20 yards, has an opportunity to get his first major of the day.
And how often do we see that when we watch Port Adelaide play? Paul Neath, northeast, cleans up the crumbs at half-back, just kicks it blindly wide to the wing. Rowan Smith, in excess of 200 games, he's just ran to the space, receives the tumbling ball, and then kicks it further to the hard-running Darren Smith, who has an opportunity to kick for goal. As we see this, 35 metres out, 45-degree angle, should not be a problem. And finally, he finds his accuracy. 1 goal, 3 as he kicked, but none probably more important than that one right there.
Great effort by Darren Smith, but the question is, Nails, where were the Norwood defenders? Because Smith, a key position player, found himself 20 metres in the clear.
Yeah, we just saw the second time this quarter. We saw before when Darren Smith was out by himself and the pass came back from Tyler. He missed that goal. It was making sure that that one went through the middle. So we're looking into that 9-minute mark of this third quarter. Port Adelaide, there's 7 goals, 11. They lead Norwood 7 goals, 6. We're back in the middle of the ground. Opportunity here for the Redlegs to respond. They're tackled fairly heavily by Borlase. The umpires indicate holding the ball. Obbs gets his head thrown back and forth on the ground. As you can see this, tremendous desperation. Good hands given across to Obbs. The run just slips over at the important period of time. So back with the action. Smith, the leading player against down there is Carter. He just comes out, takes a very easily uncontested mark once again within kicking distance. So Stephen Carter yet to bring up a goal this afternoon, could extend their lead. Currently 5 points. To take it out the margin to 11. Still one of the younger players, only 23 years old. He's put the ball high in the air. Which way will the umpire go? I think he's indicated he's kicked his first goal for the afternoon. And really, the 10-minute mark, the Magpies are on a charge.
It's a great start by the Magpies, very aggressive and very direct. They're hard-running players. We've seen Darren Smith kick the earlier goal because of his preparedness to run hard to the space, and Stephen Carter also doing that. Playing on centre wing, just ran hard to the holes in the forward line and received a fine kick from Darren Smith. Big influence on the game early in this third quarter is Darren Smith.
So an important period of the game, 10 minutes into this third quarter. Port Adelaide behind at half-time, but now have rallied and lead by 11 points in front of a strong home ground crowd of somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 people. This is an important break. Jacques up against Eastor. Who'll get hands to the ball? Neither player really. Ball falls to ground. Jarman works hard through there, as does Ashley. He runs into a brick wall, as does Ambrose. Was he held without it? Play on's the call. And another bounce down. We see here, Kent. What's your decision? As a politician would say, Kenny, no comment. Good comment, Wally, mate. Ball thrown down. Who's first there? It'll be Carter. He's interfered with. Play on's the call. Geez, it's hard. Carter fights hard for the boy. Malloy goes in late. Oh, and wouldn't he love to be out there? Coming off a half-back flank, I think he could be useful.
So umpire Richard Williams puts the ball down. Jarks up against Esau once again. Ginniver is in there. An important kick forward. Tyler comes out like a steamroller. Gives it across to Smith over the top to the big fella. He will push it through the middle. Big white sticks. So Daniel Flowers kicks his first goal for the afternoon.
The basics of football being applied here by Port Adelaide. That break just coming out of that congestion. And it was a Port Adelaide player in Mark Tyler who led Dale Fleming, the Norwood defender, to that contest. He was in front, he was rewarded. It's as simple as that. Then they were able to execute with good handball. Darren Smith again featuring Daniel Flowers, his first goal.
Around the grounds. Central's up against the Eagles today. It's Central's by 29 points, extending their lead also. And North Adelaide have now rallied to lead Sturt by 20 points. Here at Alberton Oval, it's Port Adelaide by 17 points. 9-11 to Norwood 7-6. The Redlegs with the ball, though, and with runners. They move it forward. Clayton in front. To the ground it goes. Clayton's first there. Finds Ambrose. He's been good today. And a long handball finds Carter. A long kick. 65-metre torpedo to forward line. Smith comes through, but Pick picks up the crumbs and changes direction of the play. He has a runner in Tyson. Does he get a favourable bounce? He does, but he needs to get around Smith, who's desperate. Smith to Scholl, who's just come on the ground for the Redlegs. His kick around the body may find West. He drops what he should have taken. A quick handball to Rowe. Rowe goes inboard and then turns left. A long kick, Polton clever from behind. Ball lays to Clayton, who's taken high, but Richard Williams will bounce it down. And the crowd isn't happy. If you watch this replay here, Kenny, Clayton was taken high, but in fairness to Richard Williams, he was not in the right spot to call that play.
Big fella in Pascoe brings it to the ground. They're in there again, northeast. An awkward kicking action, but still, it's effective. It goes forward, direction that his coach wants it. Coming through like a steamroller again was Kelly. He just jumps McGuinness. Ivan just played. Smith again has had some very important touches early in this third quarter. Gives it across to his captain and Ginniver, who just lays the ball out. Lace out to the full forward in Mark Tyler.
Ginniver using every one of his games to full experience there, full advantage there. He just understood the situation, he knew that all he had to do was weight that ball correctly to the fast-leading Tyler to give him the opportunity to line up for his third goal.
So Mark Tyler kicked 2 goals too this afternoon. Lines up for his third. He puts it on its way. His arms are in the air. He is giving every emotion he's got in his body to indicate that it's through the big white sticks. So it's been sensational third quarter by the Magpies.
Really
They're on a charge.
It's a great opening. They are just full of commitment. They're doing all the basics correctly. And that's just fine skills. Tremendous pass. Well weighted. right out in front of the fast-leading forward. The opening 3 goals of this very important third quarter going to the Magpies. 4
Premiership
goals in
quarter.
fact.
Port Adelaide now 10-11-71. They lead by 23 points over the Redlegs. The ball bounced down again. Jarks gets hands to the ball. Higgins couldn't get a kick away. Jarman is there for the Redlegs as we see Tom Harley coming on or warming up for his first run of the day, and in fact his first game, and Ken, he'd be having some different emotions before he runs onto the ground for his first SANFL game.
He's just simply got to focus on winning that ball cleanly and then using it to advantage.
Imagine having your first game, Rob Poppers. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but just your first game against a couple of the old traditional clubs, the Magpies versus the Redlegs. What an opening, what a game to remember your first SANFL game by.
He'll be keen to get his first kick as now Clayton for the Magpies kicks long. Borlase is down there. Who has the set? It was the Redlegs who was interfered with. Well, I'm not sure that he was. But nevertheless, the umpire said he was, and Andrew Pascoe will get the resultant free kick. His long kick. This is where they're breaking down across their half-back line. On this occasion, though, they've been good enough to hold the mark. And Lachlan Bowman takes his second mark of the day and also moves the ball long. They haven't been moving the ball quickly, though. That's why they're breaking down. Their runners can't get into the game. Pitt now kicks to open space. Who'll be first there? The Redlegs. No, good work. And Tom Carr comes in after a Jared Polton quick tackle and applied enough pressure to give Polton the opportunity to break a Redlegs forward thrust.
That's simply brilliant there by Tom Carr. Magnificent ability to pick that ball up off balance, but just keep control of the footy.
You're just trying to compare players over the years. I mean, you just look at the standard of SANFL football as it was even 5 or 6 years ago. But gee, I reckon the kids these days are better than what they were back when I started, say, 25 years ago. It's just that they are good.
They're so much
they
more
are
complete.
highly skilled, very disciplined.
So much more complete.
But I say 25 years ago, I think about 17 years ago. I'm not quite that old.
Well,
no need arguing, Stephen. You need to get that football and get it forward. And again, Stephen Rowe at the bottom of another pack. Ball will be put down. Umpire Richard Williams. Good bounce. Ambrose up against West. Coming through hard was Carter. But given time to get rid of it, the umpire believes. The advantage is played to Jarman. Which way will he use it? Delaney uses his strength in front. Couldn't quite keep hold of it. Polton's out wide, receiving the handball from Carr. He slips over an important period of time again. It must be a little bit slippery out there. We have seen 2 or 3, 4 players go over on their feet.
Crowd here loving this game. And the home crowd loving the scoreline. Port Adelaide 10-11-71, leading Norwood 7-6-48. As again the Magpies go forward looking for Borlase. Unable to take that mark, and again it'll be another throw in. Around about 5,000 or 6,000 I'd suggest here today, Nails, possibly even more. A good crowd in perfect conditions against traditional rivals. Ball thrown in, Rowe works hard. He's trying to inspire the Redlegs onto bigger and better things, but his kick forward only goes as forward as Carr, who's pushed off track. And why he doesn't receive a free kick has got me beat, Ken Sheldon.
Yes, well, perhaps the umpire deemed that James was committed. He must have, otherwise he would have given the free kick. Very physical assault, though. Good stuff from Norwood.
So Rose out of a quick pack again. Smith's there with intelligent hands across to McGuinness. He couldn't quite take it. Gives it across to Ambrose. Fakes the handball. He's been good back there at centre-half back. Delaney has run from the full-back line onto the wing. He should receive this. Too quick was Big Rog. Missed the football. Tackled by O'Brien, but still had time to get his foot to the ball. Smith's in there again, working very hard as young, not young, as the ageing Rowan Smith.
It's the old heads that have really put Port Adelaide back into the control of their game. Delaney at full-back, Rowan Smith on the wing, Ginniver in the midfield, Carter on the wing, and Darren Smith at centre-half forward.
Again, Higgins has tightened up on Jarman and stopped his influence in this third quarter after Jarman seemed to get a little bit of space late in the ball in the Magpies forward line. Jacques gets hands down. McGuinness, a quick kick smothered by Jarman and picked up by Eastor. His kick towards the boundary. Now this is a race for pace, and first there's Clayton, and he's taken over the boundary line, and guess who done it again? It was James. But that one was a fair one, you'd suggest. Clayton there, and James comes in late. It's fair. It was there. Updates around the ground. Central's up against the Eagles, and they lead by 16 points. The Eagles fighting back. North Adelaide by only 8 points over the Double Blues. And here at Alberton Oval, it's Port Adelaide by 23 points, but with the Redlegs going to attack.
I've just seen something here. Look at this.
This is great.
Pull that ponytail back.
That is sensational.
A la Tommy Elvin a few years ago, if you recall, at the SCG. Redlegs go forward, but Borlase is a stumbling block, and as is Delaney. Well, Delaney turns on the pace and kicks long. Burgoyne's his target. Who's first on their feet? It's going to be Scholl, who's pushed over the boundary line.
In the back.
And in the back's the call.
The correct decision there, but what a great contest it was. The ball well weighted out in front of the Port Adelaide player, but just able to make a contest of it was Norwood.
I just saw my little birdie. He gets around that little bird. Every see coming through is Polton. Onto his leg again. He puts it up high. Out in front was Carter. He takes it in front of Scholl. Goes back, wants to get the ball moving quickly. He does so. He's looking at centre-half forward for Smith, who's taken everything that's come his way in this third quarter. Could nearly have been paid a free kick. Ginniver's in there, knocks the ball forward. Again coming out wide. It was Bowman. The ball sits up beautifully for Eccles. Eccles comes back in the middle of the ground. He was just taken a little bit high as he kicked it. Kelly gets it moving out wide again. Opportunity here through Fleming to run the ball out. Ball's found. Big Pascoe chips the ball up forward to the running West. West needs a lead from O'Brien. It's going that way. O'Brien should take this. Couldn't quite get there. The front of the pack is taken. Given wide. The umpire has indicated he's playing the advantage. Some hot football out there. Some desperation shown by both sides. This is Alts. Just outside of 50. Chips it towards centre half forward. The ball's taken down. There was Eccles first to receive it. Couldn't quite get it through the big sticks. And the ball again was put up another behind. So the score here, 10 goals 11, 71. The Maggies, Norwood, 7 goals 7, 49.
Port by 22 points, and Roger Delaney brings the ball back into play. Finds Borlase. Borlase to space. Carter, but he'll be tracked down, you'd suggest, by Obst. Carter under pressure, has a runner in Northeast. Well, Northeast didn't want that ball. He just kicked it quickly forward. And now, unable to keep the ball in is both Ginniver and Kelly. As we see, in fact, Evans preparing to come back on for Port Adelaide. Jarks contests the ruck. A quick kick forward by Kelly. Goes for the safety of the boundary. Has he found it? He has. Well, these players are starting to slow down now late in this third quarter. The intensity has been hot since the first bounce, as we see Flower come off for Port Adelaide. Well, he's really blossomed today for Port Adelaide, hasn't he?
Sets on.
Oh, my ribs, Robbie.
You hear the changes being called down there on the boundary line. We heard, like Burgoyne's coming off, Setri will be coming back on. You've heard it first, you've heard it live here on ABC Sport.
What, the Flowers blossom?
Ball by James, kicked forward. Nearly taken, coming in there is Eccles first. Gives it across to Jarman. Which way will he go? The running players from Tyson over the top to West. He will go that way. Needs support this West. Goes forward to O'Brien. They're going to mess this up. You can see that happening. The pitcher is on the wall. And they have done that exactly. Carlton there will just rush it behind. Good defensive skills, but possibly Ken Sheldon Norwood made a mess of that.
Yes, and that could be the ball game. It was as simple as that. It's an opportunity just simply gone missing there. Gee, you just can't afford to make mistakes like that in such a red-hot ball game.
Delaney now goes long again. He's found Borlase. That's been his target on the last 2 or 3 occasions. Borlase plays on quickly. Jarman tried to get a hand to it, couldn't. And now McGuinness has got the mark and a 25-metre penalty, which may bring McGuinness within scoring distance.
And what about the lack of attention here by the Norwood defence? They're just not picking up the Port Adelaide players with any conviction.
And as you called it, Kent, McGuinness went short, found Tyler on the lead, and there was just too much space there, wasn't there?
And not only that, you had half-backs from Port Adelaide, such as Carter, running down the ground unattended.
Tylor now, inside 50, probably on a 45-degree angle. He kicks. It's offline.
Too close to the man on the mark, just never set himself up correctly again. So really will have to work on that, Tyler, I should say. He earns his dollars for kicking goals, and he's just got to get that right.
So once again, we wait for the ball to come back. We've seen a couple of long quarters. The first one was over 30. The second one was pretty close to it. It really just gives time for the players just to regain a bit of breath. There is a problem here at Alberton Oval, and that ball does go over the fence at that southern end. We see Borlase again, who really has been sensational today. Again, he gets a kick forward and finds the player that's just come on, and Adrian Setra, he wants to get the ball moving quickly. He decides to have a little quick chip. We call that play on. He goes back now. Been around for a while as Adrian Setra. Inside the 50-metre circle, the arc. It goes up. Some strong work taken there. As we hear the three-quarter time siren and people streaming on the oval, it's the Port Adelaide Magpies by 22 points.
Terrific performance by Port Adelaide in the premiership quarter, the third quarter, in front of their home ground here. They really did lift their rating. They were led by their centre-half forward and most experienced forward on the day in Darren Smith. Most influential player on the ground in that quarter. He controlled every attack that come into the forward line. Daisy Borlase, who was magnificent in the first quarter, a little quiet in the second, reignited his engines, and he was extremely important as well. Ginniver was terrific, and the youngsters we talked about, Burgoyne, a few different special things that they were able to do. Ambrose at centre-half back, combining with Clayton and Carter and others like that, was special as well. It was all Port Adelaide in that quarter. Norwood really were left, well, they were floundering. They were really in trouble. They had no defensive ethic or little of it, and they really were indirect going into their forward line.
So three-quarter time margin here. Still within margin are the Redlegs. They're 7 goals, 650. They're trailing the Magpies, who were 10 goals, 12-72. We saw the Magpies come back in that the Norwood Redlegs come back in that second quarter. Can they do it again in the last? Sit back and watch it. You're seeing it live on ABC Sport.
And 22 points the margin in favour of the Magpies here at Alberton. And one of the players that will need to really respond for the Redlegs if they're to have any chance of getting up is James Tyson. He won the Foss Williams medal for South Australia's best against the ACT in Canberra just a month or so ago. Today, we profile the Norwood wingman.
Career aspirations outside of footy is I'm currently doing conservation park management, so I'd love to be a park ranger or work in the environment at some stage, but that's after footy. In my footy career, I'd like to win a premiership with Norwood. Outside of footy, I'm pretty good at relaxing. I like taking it easy, not doing much. I'd like to travel a fair bit and listen to music. My toughest opponent would be Visca when I was playing Glenelg. A couple of times he's
give me a pretty hard time, and it's been a good, solid opponent. My dad's probably been the biggest influence on my career, and my uncle Mick, who's always encouraged me and always said, Biff, be in front. Other than that, Neil Craig was a great influence on my career also, and Peter Rhodes been good this year too. I don't think I've got a pre-match routine. I get changed very late, and Peter Rhodes sort of knows that, but it's not really a routine. It's just I like watching the reserves play as much as I can.
He's been a pretty good pickup, hasn't he, since coming over from Richmond just, what, 3 or 4 years ago. He's really made an impact at the parade. Well, some great goals that term. 4 goals to Port Adelaide. They kept the Redlegs goalless in that term. And if you're a Port Adelaide fan, you'd like the way Stephen Carter went about his business, Ken.
Yes, I think possibly the best player on the ground, Carter. He has been thereabouts all day, and that was a fine goal. Darren Smith there, what an influence he had on the game in that quarter. Also the first, Ginniver, he's been, the leader again. Tyler, with his goals, has been pretty special. Also, I thought other players, Ambrose at centre-half back, really great to mention. Borlase as a ruck rover playing in the forward pocket. Also, Higgins and Carr. Whilst for Norwood, Obbs, Jarman, perhaps, having a great duel, actually, with Higgins, but still influential as Jarman, Harvey and Pitt.
Thanks for that, Ken. Well, one player that Ken Sheldon would be like to be like is Richard Ambrose. That long flowing hair, the long ponytail. Sometimes it's your undoing. What do you think, Ken?
Well, I find that very comical, as people may appreciate. I haven't had one of those since I had a wig on at about 8 years old.
King got him, didn't he? And just reeled him in by the ponytail. I think Rex Hunt would have been happy with that if he was fly fishing. So we go down to the boundary line, and Rob Popplestone. What did Peter Rode have to say at three-quarter time, Rob?
Peter Rode was diplomatic as he could be in front of a strong contingent of Norwood fans, but I tell you what, he's desperate for the Red League side to win this game. I know that on the ladder they will still retain top spot, but what he wants to retain, of course, is their ability to beat Port Adelaide in big games, and there's none bigger than in front of a strong Port Adelaide crowd at Alberton. When the Chips are down by some 22 points, I think you'll find. But I think that the Redlegs have got enough and good players and enough runners to possibly come back in this last quarter. Time will tell, of course. Over at Port Adelaide's huddle, of course, Steve Williams pleaded with his players also and said that there's no one better in this competition than us when we're hard at the ball. Paul Northeast was very vocal, as was Mark Tyler, and Steve Williams spent time talking to individual players, just telling them to keep their heads, keep working hard at the ball, keep doing the simple things that have got us in this possibly winning position up until three-quarter time. And I think that you'll find Port Adelaide obviously will be hard to knock off. It's going to go right down to the wire. Our viewers are going to be treated to probably the best 30 minutes of football all year.
All right, Rob, thanks for that. As we go to the three-quarter time scoreboard, it shows Norwood trailing 7-8 to 10-12 the Magpies. It was a great third term by Port Adelaide. Tyler's got 3, Burgoyne, McGuinness a couple, Flowers got a goal, and Carter has 1. Smart, O'Brien and West the leading goal scorers for the Redlegs. And Mark and Ken, statistically kicks-wise, anyway, and marks and handballs, not much in it.
Oh, very, very even, but it's Norwood's indirectness which is costing them. They've really been through centre-half forward, whilst at the other end of the ground, Port Adelaide have had a supreme winner in Darren Smith at centre-half forward, and also a winner in Mark Tyler at full forward.
And there's the three-quarter time scoreboard from Woodville Oval. 7-13 the Eagles, trailing Central 10-11-71. You suspect that the Eagles really needed to win to stay in the finals hunt. Three-quarter time, Sturd have fought back. They trail by 8 points against North at Adelaide Oval. Important match for both sides there. Well, Ken, we've got to ask you, Port Adelaide have taken a long time in the huddle. They're pretty relaxed. They're obviously in the box seat, 22 points up, but can the Redlegs just launch an all-out attack and get back?
Well, they have to, for the pride and respect of the Norwood Football Club. Like, it really is at the crossroads here as far as I'm concerned, and I think a lot of people will be concerned. Like, too many of their players have again been too soft here today when it really has mattered. They have to answer now. This 30 minutes really is crunch time for Norwood.
Well, Mark, we saw Norwood Anzac Day, 122-point winners. Only the 4th time in Port Adelaide's proud history they've been knocked over by more than 100 points, and they kicked 9 goals in the final quarter that day. I suppose they're going to have to kick something like that to win today.
Well, they really are missing a few players out there. Downsborough, Daniels, Stephen Daniels, that is, and also Gary McIntosh. 3 players who just come to mind. Also Scotty Bassett as well. There's a few players here that they are missing, but the Magpies also haven't got their full squad. But, you know, the value of Gary McIntosh, I don't care what you say, who wants to disagree with me, he is worth 2 or 3 players.
Well, there'd be no question of that, and anybody that's followed SANFL football would, I think, would agree. But Scott Hodges, like, how many is he worth to Port Adelaide? Like, it's a very equal equation here, but Norwood really have set themselves up to win this game, and at the moment they are found like they really are wanting. They've just missed what it's all about in that vital third quarter.
Well, the Magpies haven't been beaten at home this year. They've only lost the two. The Anzac Day clash against Norwood, last week against North Adelaide, and Norwood have only lost the one against North Adelaide. Can they be up for their second loss of the year? We'll find out. Stay with us for the final term. We'll take you through live. Your commentators, Ken Sheldon, Mark Nailey and Rob Popplestone.
We've got 3 or 4 kids down the northern end that's left the screen if you're sitting at home just having a bit of fun with the football. Falling over in front of Mark Tyler and a few other players down there at that northern end. The umpire's just waiting for them to get off. You can see him looking down towards that northern goal square as a siren sounds here to start the last quarter. 72 plays 50, 22-point margin to the Magpies. A great thump there by Jakes over the top. Smith, who had a great third quarter, gives it across to the other Smith. That's Rowan, who kicks it up, and a good mark taken by Evans. Evans, who came on the third quarter, kicks it up. Tyler, it's a little bit too over the top there. Gives away the free kick to Fleming. Fleming gets the ball moving. Jarman, we need a big quarter from Andrew Jarman this last if they're going to get back in this. Normally hits the target. This time he found Smith. Smith's got the running ball A's, and he takes it. I heard Ken before speak about best players. He is my best player so far today. He has ran everywhere. We see again Tyler from behind, Fleming in front. Ball brought to ground. 34 is Harley. The ball's been chipped over the top. That's Harvey. Takes it. Setri, the umpire's indicated holding the ball, and Paul Evans will receive the free kick.
Good tackle there by the youngster, just tying Stephen Rowe up.
The kick forward to the top of the square. Who's first there? It's the Magpies. Numbers. Ashley taps it down cleverly to Carter under pressure. Can they convert? They can't. Obst works hard and can't get through. It's desperation out there.
It's the physical presence of Port Adelaide in the clinches. It's just so superior to Norwood. So evident.
Borlase's the last man to get up. He's leading by example today, isn't he? Gerald Borlase, Deputy Vice Captain of the Magpies. Bounce down. Hands to it was Eastor. Scholl now for the Redlegs. On his left foot, kicks inboard. Who's going to be first there? Here we go. It's a dash for speed. Tyson, hotly pursued by Smith. Can he pick up the agate? He can't. Smith won't get him any peace at all.
Tremendous.
And good work by Rowan Smith.
No, I agree with that decision. I reckon it was the right decision.
The player playing the football out in front,
But
takes
there it
it,
is
then
there.
tackles, held to him.
Wasn't held to him.
You tell me when he had time to get rid of that.
I thought it was a good decision.
Rowan
Terrible
Smith
decision.
is kicked now. As the boys nearly come to fisticuffs off screen, on screen, it's the Redlegs going forward. And big James West marks inside the 50. And he's quite within his capabilities this distance. He'll kick from right on the 50-metre line, you'd suggest he does. The kick's a good one. And it's straight through the middle. The Redlegs are still alive. It's goal number 3 for James West. And Port Adelaide still hold this lead, though. 3 minutes into this last quarter. Port Adelaide 10-12-72. Norwood 8-6-50.
Yeah, it's a big result there for Norwood.
6.
A big result there for Norwood. The turnover in midfield, and Jim West got the ball 50 metres out. Really did set himself. He had to kick that goal. He realised that, and he was good enough to do it.
72 plays 56. Port by 16 points now. It's a good opening by Norwood. They needed the first goal. Esau thumps the ball forward. In there again is Genevieve. Kicks the ball high in the air. He'll be first onto it. In there is Ops. Very clever. Plays the ball in front of him. Looking for support. He's found it through Jarman. He can go across to Esau. He finds him. Esau on his left leg. He booms it down towards full forward. Coming out, slight little push by Webb from northeast on west. Polton's at the pack. He picks up, turns, looking for support. He finds it. Again in northeast, just chips the ball forward.
We see that a couple of times by the big fella today. Again, the ball comes to the ground. Again, the players dive on it. And again, the umpire will come in and throw it up. You see that attendance. I sit around between 7 and 8. I think I was closer than Rob Popplestone, who sit around at 5. But a good attendance, 7,200. A few extra there today. Tremendous atmosphere and a tremendous game of football.
Redlegs go forward. Malloy's, he taken it out of the area. He has play on the goal. Wow, what a decision. Poor decision, umpire. No, I disagree again, Robbie. Correct decision. Well, the indecision was the fault of Malloy. Never play on when you're within this range from goal. You watch him. 40 comes, and he's pulled up. He did take off in a direct line towards goal. He was running into the open goal, but then realised that it was all cut off before him.
Well, on that occasion, I think I'll agree to disagree with you, Kenny, but nevertheless, Port Adelaide have the ball, and that's the important thing, isn't it?
Tell you what is working for Norwood, though. The Ops, number 6, won a crucial ball in the centre of the ground. Really did commit himself, and that's the only way that Norwood are going to get back into this game. Win those 50-50 balls.
Clayton now moves the ball forward. First there is James. 50-50 balls, as you call Ken, are starting to be won by Norwood. They move forward again. First there's Tyson. Rowe fighting hard.
That's what it's about. There's a loose football there. It's either you or him. It's got to be you that comes out with a footy.
Quick comment, I think it's just pride in the jumper now. You can see the players, they realise that these two clubs have met numerous times. Great tradition. A couple of great clubs out there. You can just see the players are playing for the Guernsey.
Contest is back on. A quick kick off the ground could be all it needs for Carr to move the Magpies forward. He's got a runner there. It's Ashley. Through the half-forward line, a quick kick to a leading player, can't find him. First there for the Magpies is Evans. He can't pick the ball up. Scholl fights hard for the Redlegs. A handball goes as far as Tyler. A quick kick around the body. Ball lays an unfavourable bounce. And it's rushed through for a behind. Well,
you just can't beat experience, can you? Ball lace just faded back into the space. Poor handball there. It was well anticipated, actually, by Tyler, rather than perhaps a poor handball. Fleming now with the opportunity to turn defence into attack. Norwood with possession.
Good kick out by Fleming. Good 65 means a good punch back by the Port big man. The runner's out wide. It's coming again. This is Tyson, should run onto it. The Magpie defence, and Clayton takes the buck, rides it beautifully, and gives a handball over the top to Higgins. Higgins wastes the opportunity, gives it across to Jarman. Jarman with tremendous stuff. Over the top, Ambrose has been sold to Rocket centre half back. Tons of pressure. Carr's in there also. Who will pick the ball up? Who will get it out? Carr sits on top of it. And neither side will be advantaged. It really is an electrifying pace. It's electrifying energy out there. Players are giving their heart and their soul for their jumper.
Gee, an interesting statistic, the Williams-Gallagher Cup, which the clubs are playing for today, if Port are successful, will be one each. The decider in round 23, where Norwood... Oh, it's just another side issue to the game, but the Williams-Gallagher Cup, what a couple of great names.
Norwood now with the ball. A favourable bounce sees Bowman with room to move. He's kicked forward. Searches for King. He can't get the ball. A boundary throw-in. Half-forward line. The Redlegs into attack. Trailing by 17 points. Ginniver tries to thread one through and does. Now Ashley for the Magpies. A kick to centre half forward. It's all the Redlegs and it's dropped. The pressure's too much for some players. Smith, though, feeds off. The Magpies into attack. Carter has the sit and takes the ball. Ops was beaten in the air. Carter took a strong mark.
Well, he was in the commanding position, was Stephen Carter. You can see statistics on screen there. A very, very prominent player in this game on centre wing, having a great duel with Obst, both in the best players for their respective teams.
Setray off for the Port Adelaide side and coming on for his first run. Or in fact, is Burgoyne wearing Gilligan's jumper as Carter now, more importantly, kicks accurately for the Port Adelaide side and extends their lead.
Well, Port Adelaide simply capitalising on the mistake by Eastor, just dropping the mark at centre-half back. And it was as simple as that. Port Adelaide then were able to put the ball in to Carter, who just with his superior physical strength was able to nudge Obbs under the ball. Both players having a great duel on centre wing.
Darryl Paul sitting on the bench. Spent a bit of time there in the second half. We see Port Adelaide 79 play, Norwood on 56. The ball's high. The next goal must come from the Redlegs. Ambrose, one of the better players in the half-back line, gives it across to Borlase. So Borlase just shades his eyes from the sun. Picks the ball up, Mark nearly taken. Boys throwing their body over each other. Again, it comes out. Smith is in there. Some good quick hands to Tyson. He needs support. Couldn't quite hit his target. In there is McGuinness. Again, stacks on the middle. At Borlase, Higgins, King, they're all in there.
That's really what it's all about. Like, look at this, the tackle there from Borlase, just desperate. Then you see McGuinness come in to throw his body into that contest, then control where the football is with his body. Like Higgins over the top. They're really what it's all about, Port Adelaide. They have been better in the clinches.
Smith now goes forward. Evans in front. Paul Evans.
Just that preparedness not to concede, just to fight for front position. Use your body with great desperation and commitment. Norwood have been good at times. That's when we've seen them surge on the scoreboard. But Port Adelaide have just been thereabouts all day and consistently.
Evans will kick from 45. He does. It'll make the distance. The accuracy. Hit the post. That could have been the sealer. The margin now is an even 24 points. 4 straight kicks. Evans's kick, look at that. Hit midway up the upright. Around the ground, Central taking on the Eagles. Centrals extend their lead to 39 points. And North and Sturt, it's Sturt fighting back to lead by 5 points.
Kelly comes out from defence with a booming kick. Tyson couldn't quite take it. Clayton runs straight into Tyson.
Good umpiring decision there. Clayton couldn't get rid of the football. Having a bit of fun with these blokes. Perfect decision there.
This is your last weekend, Ken Sheldon. Go back to Burwood. Go back to the country. We see again, Clayton's in there over the top.
You blokes want to get a rule book and have a good look at it.
Oh, dear. You've been drinking too many of those beers, he pulls. Here it comes again. Clayton sockets the ball forward. Smith's there, pushed in the back. Umpires miss another one. It's coming in tough and hard and it's aggressive. Smith with a smile on his face.
Really has had everything this game. Tremendous pressure, tremendous tempo, some great highlights. Particularly with some goals, special goals kicked.
Bounce down. Tap forward by Pascoe. First there, Clayton. He's been good. Holding the ball. Yes, sirree. Well, I'm not sure that was the right one. Kenny, what do you think?
We'll have a look at this one on replay.
Sitting on it. Look at this. In the back. In
He's
the
over
back.
the footy and it's the right. He pulled the ball back into himself, so it's the right decision.
Well, Jarman's resultant free kick, as you might have gathered from the Port Adelaide crowd, is out of bounds on the full. And Ashley takes the ball, moves it forward, looking for Jacques, over the back, Pascoe. Under the pack again, it's Port Adelaide. And out of bounds.
Great experience by Borlase.
This is one of these games that you just need to get hold of. You should be down to your ABC shop on Monday morning. If you can't get there, ring that telephone number you just saw on screen. This is one of the best games you'll see in 1997. It mightn't be close, But gee, you can just see the desperation, the skill level. Just players having a red-hot go. We see Darryl Poole lining up on the boundary line. That's a good sign for the Port Power supporters. Spent a bit of time off there, but he must still be fit. His groin must have held up. We see Harvey around his body. Kicks the ball forward. In there was Smart, he just overran it. Gainer goes wide. Jones couldn't get there. Ball ace again out by himself. Runs through the half-back line. Puts it out in front of Burgoyne. Burgoyne gets his head around quickly. Ball ace is continually running. Who's going to pick him up? He comes inside. Will take taken by Harvey. And will receive a free kick. I agree with you there, Ken.
Yeah, ball ace been magnificent. A running machine. Not a great deal of pace in those legs, but he's just continually at it. And a real captain on the field, a real leader.
Smith short to McInnes. He's been busy today. Phil McInnes kicks to Tylor. Puts up one hand, can't take the ball. First there, Ashley, taken high, no. Play on's the call. Captain Geneva. A kick for goal. Will it make the distance? No, Polton in front. Under pressure, can't get a kick. And it's through for another behind.
It's good to see Polton down there. Could develop into something exciting up forward. He's very accomplished as a youngster in defence. And combining with the likes of Clayton really have had a big influence on this game. That half-back line of himself, Clayton and Ambrose have been pretty special for Port Adelaide.
Norwood work at fourth. 25 points to the margin. And it's Harley. His kick is a long one. Looking for Pascoe. Clayton over the top. And to the safety of the boundary line.
That's really where they want it, Port Adelaide, at this time. They've just got to play out time now. Percentage football and soak up the time.
There's O'Brien has just come on. And Stephen Road has gone off. Some strong work done. Downer, his head over the ball was King. Damien King, he gets up. Wants the football.
You can see a great commitment from Clayton. And King just had his head down.
It's a little bit too low, but great commitment shown by both players. Plenty of pushing and shoving. Which way will the footy go? I think it's straight towards Poole. Poole should take this uncontested. He does that. Got the running players out wide and big Rog. Rog on your 200 gain. Goes for it. He's still running, big Rog. He'll receive it back. There's McInnes. There's Delaney. Good call. And here it comes and forward. Tyler comes in. A good work taken by Kelly, but just behind, I think. I think Big Rog will take it behind.
Why not a free kick downfield? The umpire looking right at it.
Number 18, Michael Avon. Oh, no. The Magpie crowd goes mad, and they see their full forward and Mark Tyler bring up his 4th goal for the afternoon.
Really was a poor kick from King into the Norwood attack, and Poole, who's come onto the ground. Good coaching by Stephen Williams, playing in the ruck, a kick and a half behind the play now. We'll use all of his experience to advantage. That's the right move for Port Adelaide at this stage of the game. Whether Poole's fully fit or not, he's certainly got enough in his tank to sit the kick and a half behind the play and have a big influence in holding any Norwood attack out.
Around the ground, Sturt up against North Adelaide. Oh, North by a point. Back here at Alberton Oval, Port assume control. Jarman for all the Redlegs, only as far as Delaney in his 200th game. You won't forget this game. Go short to Carr. Port Adelaide keep possession, running the clock down. McInnes, a quick kick. First there will be Port Adelaide again. Good work, taken high and called that way too. It was Higgins. The free kick obviously there. Oh, run down was King. Good work there by Evans. And the Redlegs going to attack, and Carter has taken a mark just 40 metres out from goals.
Oh, what a fantastic tackle. just committed in pursuit. Was able to run down the Norwood player in King, and the rebounders sees this fellow line up for his third goal, Stephen Carter.
Carter now, he'll kick from 40. He's on a 45-degree angle. Head over the ball. It looks nice off the boot, but it's not accurate. Just the one behind. The score now, nearly 20 minutes into this last quarter. Port Adelaide 12-16, a total of 88. Norwood 8-8, 56.
Ball's driven back in. Behind us, Pascoe. In front was Paul. Takes the Norwood player. Was gang tackled by Ginniver and also Paul. A little high. Umpire being Kings. They Port by 32 points. Umpire Williams will put it down. Give some time. Back up. The Redlegs must be concerned. They've only kicked 1 goal since half-time.
Just thinking, Mark, like the Norwood match committee, the hierarchy, they will just be livid at this performance. It really, they've just been shown how to go about it by Port Adelaide. There's so much talk by Norwood during the week in the build-up, and yet it's just been left in the change room, particularly since half-time.
Full credit also to Port Adelaide. They've come out, they're playing at home. They weren't going to lose today. Ambrose kicks wide on the running Smith. Smith comes inboard. He finds Burgoyne. Burgoyne tries to break the tackle. He's got the running McIntosh inside. McIntosh goes over the top. He's done that. Ashley just pushes the ball into the air. Which way has it gone? Across the face of goals to bring up another behind. But it's all out attack by the Maggies. They have been very impressive.
Richard Ambrose at centre-half back. What a game he has played.
He's been good. He's been very good. Fleming now for the Redlegs. Brings the ball back into a play. Not a good kick, but nevertheless taken by Norwood's Tom Harley. Play on. The Redlegs into open space. First there. Ambrose on Eastor's hammer, but with numbers. Tyson works it out to James. A quick kick into space again, searching for Smart. Gets a favourable bounce, but finally under pressure. A long kick, more in hope than anything else. Goes as far as the young Port Adelaide star in Polton. His kick is an absolute shocker. And Norwood now with the ball. Jarman. He'll find someone. He does. It is a teammate. Norwood kick. Only their second goal in the second half. And I would suggest it's all too late. It's James West's 4th goal. And they move now, Norwood, onto 9 goals, 8, a total of 62. Port Adelaide, 12-17, 89.
Yes, the body language there would suggest that the game is all over. Like when you kick a goal, you've got to show some emotion, but when you're so disappointed and frustrated, I guess, at how the game's come out.
The other close game you saw between Sturt and North. Their update, Sturt, they've kicked back again. There goes 6 points, so the margin is up and down at Adelaide Oval. Back to Alberton Oval. We see 89 plays 62 at the 22.5-minute mark of this last quarter. A knock back by Pascoe. Again, Ginniver, who's worked hard this afternoon, just chips the ball out wide. You can see Smith with a bit of vision. McIntosh just pushes the ball forward. Over the top is Ashley. Just tripped as he went for it. Dantoshia. Number 11 is James. On the Jarman. Jarman over the top. The first player to get there should be Carr. He's got 20 metres on his opponent and Harvey. Carr comes around, kicks the ball up. Struggling hard to get there. This pass go from behind. He kicks around his left leg, straight back to the big fella, and Paul should take it. West is over the top, made good ground to get there. West has got the running king inside. He'll line up for goals from 45 metres. He directs it that way. Will it be touched by Delaney? I don't think it is. So Norwood respond by kicking the last 2 goals. Is it too late, Ken Shelton?
Oh, I think it definitely is too late, Mark, although there is probably 5 or 6 minutes to go. But, gee, it'd be hard to see them fighting all the way back. Been done before, though. Has happened before.
Has indeed, Ken. As we see King here, I'd suggest Peter Road would be looking at which players really fight this game out right to the end.
Oh, I think, yes, very true. I think really is the acid test for a lot of these players here today from Norwood.
The game between North and Sturt was a ripper. Final scores, match drawn. Our third draw of the year. In fact, fourth draw of the year. Sturt and North fighting for their position in the final 5. Back here at Alberton Oval. Port Adelaide fighting for respect. They've earned it today, but Norwood surge forward again. It's Kelly kicking to space. First there will be Eccles for the Redlegs. Gives ground, keeps possession, Pascoe. Deep in the forward line, O'Brien. Great grab under pressure.
Just quickly on that draw, we've seen this year, what a season we've had. We've seen Sturt draw twice and also seen South have 2 draw matches as well. What a season of football for those 2 clubs.
O'Brien to keep the Redlegs with a chance. Has he done it? He has. Well, all of a sudden, the game that was dead and buried is starting to show life. Port Adelaide, 12-17-89. Norwood, 11-8.
74. Gee, Port Adelaide really have stopped. They'll have to lift their rating right now. Their guns are in there. Ginniver, Borlace.
You can hear the crowd in the background. They're excited. They realise maybe another 3 or 4 minutes left in this game. If that, Port by 15 points. Umpire Justin Smith puts down another lovely bounce. We've been very critical of the decision, but gee, they've bounced the ball well today. In comes the big fella in Pascoe. Eccles is in there also. Desperation shown by the players again. And once again, the Norwood player is game tackled by 3 black and white Guernseys. Now, why would you bring a Port Power flag to this game? Tell me. They are a strange breed, that supporter, aren't they?
I'm not touching that.
All right.
The ball will be bounced down, centre of the ground. Pascoe punches the ball forward. Obst was there, but Polton was also. And we find ourselves with another bounce down.
Very impressed with Polton's performance today. The youngster at half-back, very accomplished.
Mature head on young shoulders, as we see now, trying to fight his way through for the Redlegs. Was Harvey. Free kick paid, advantage also. Out the back, who's going to be first there? It'll be Ambrose. He's been super today. Changed from a forward position to centre-half back, Kenny Shelton, and has done the job admirably.
Yes, was called into the side 3 weeks ago, kicked 6 goals. What a response that was, and today finds himself at centre-half back and has been as good as any player on the ground.
Carter receives the ball, which is knocked forward by the big fella and pull. Held back was Burgoyne, just an electrifying pace. He'll take off, he'll run inside 50. Just slow yourself down now, fellas. Steady yourself. If you go over the top, he won't handball. He's gone for the goals. Possibly the wrong decision made. Young head on a young shoulders.
The mistake he made was just at the last moment looking for the chaser instead of just focusing on kicking the goal and understanding what was ahead of him. So he'll benefit from that.
Long. They need to kick a goal within the next minute, they'll say, and suggest. In fact, they'll need to kick 3 in a second, but they can't do that. The final score here at Alberton, Port Adelaide 12-18-90, Norwood 11-8-74. The margin is 16 points.
What a tremendous game of football. It had everything. Norwood opened with the first goal, but then Port responded with the next 4. Norwood finished with the next one just prior to quarter time, and at half time we had 2 points in the ball game. Port Adelaide, however, just give everything in that third quarter, and they were just fantastic. Just simply fantastic were Port Adelaide.
Ken, just quickly, just a couple of your best players.
I think we'll have to go with Ambrose at centre-half back with the 3 votes. I think he was tremendous. Borlace was magnificent. I thought he looked quiet in the second quarter. Also, Stephen Carter, Darren Smith for a magnificent third quarter. McGuinness, Tyler for his goals. Delaney in his 200th game was terrific. And the youngsters such as Polton, Clayton, Carr, they were very good. Whilst for the Norwood side, I think Obst perhaps in their best. Jim West certainly with his 4 goals. Anthony Harvey, and I think Eastaugh was reasonable, as was Andrew Jarman, who had a tagging job put on him today by Higgins. Higgins done the job for his coach, Stephen Williams, as did all the Port Adelaide players. They really responded in adversity and were magnificent.
It really was a fantastic game. We just saw both sides really give their all. Both sides undermanned by a couple of players. We saw, okay, McIntosh didn't take the field for the red leg side. A couple of players have gone up to the Port Power and also the Adelaide Crows this week. And you see the supporters out there at the moment. The players are acknowledging their supporters. They got them their home today. They really gave their all, and they enjoy playing home. They really do.
Thanks for that, fellas. Great victory to the Port Adelaide Magpies. Final scores here at Alberton Oval. Port Adelaide 12-18-90 have defeated Norwood 11 goals, 8-74. The final margin 16 points. Goal kickers Tyler kicked 4 for Port Adelaide. Carter, McGuinness and Burgoyne a couple. Flowers got 1, and for Norwood it was West with 4 who led the way. O'Brien 3, Smart a couple, and statistically Port Adelaide dominated the kicks and the marks, but the final quarter was where they got away. Handball's not much in it, but look at the hit-outs. After starting pretty ordinary, they levelled out right by the end of the play. In other matches today, round 15 around the country, Eagles and Central went at it, with Central being the winners. And the other match, Sturt have drawn with North Adelaide. That's the 3rd time this year. And don't forget tonight, West Adelaide take on Glenelg, the curtain raiser at Football Park. And in the AFL last night, Geelong defeated North Melbourne. Today it was Melbourne, an upset win over the Blues. Brisbane defeated the Western Bulldogs, another upset. How would you like to be tipping those today? And Collingwood, as a few people expected, defeated Fremantle. Tonight, Adelaide take on St Kilda at Football Park, 8 p.m. Be there. That'll be a great clash of 2 great running sides. And tomorrow, West Coast take on Port Adelaide at Subiaco, Sydney and Essendon at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and Richmond and Hawthorn. And don't forget, next week, round 16 in the SANFL, it's Central and Port at Elizabeth Oval. Our match of the day at 2 p.m. Join us live from 2 o'clock. Central and Port, another big one. West and South, Norwood and Sturt, and North and Glenelg at Prospect Oval. Well, I must thank Rob Popplestone, who filled in to me today. I really wasn't feeling too well. He did a great job. Thanks also to Ken Sheldon, Mark Naley. Join us next week, 2 o'clock, when we bring you Port Adelaide and Central. Goodbye now.